Hello my dear students, welcome to our channel Rajesh Biology and I am Rajesh, Mr. Zoology. So in this video I am going to explain about the menstrual cycle. Before this diagram, I would like to introduce a few structures. Okay, that is pituitary gland, ovary and endometrium, and the ovarian hormones and pituitary hormones. These are the things which involve or which initiate and which maintain this menstrual cycle. So what are they? First they are, okay, I'll write here, that is pituitary gland, anterior pituitary, mainly adenohypophysis, anterior pituitary, which is going to release the gonadotropins, that is FSH and LH. FSH and LH both are called gonadotropins. They are released by the anterior pituitary by receiving information from the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus releases a hormone like gonadotropin releasing hormone. Hey anterior pituitary, go and release this FSH and LH. Like that, that hypothalamus is going to order anterior pituitary to release the FSH and LH. FSH means follicular stimulating hormone. Follicular stimulating hormone. That means it helps in the development of follicles, developing follicles. The follicles are developed because of this FSH. Another hormone is called luteal hormone. Luteal hormone, corpus luteum. So the another hormone, luteal hormone, is going to stimulate this corpus luteum, luteal hormone. Okay, so these two are hormones, and this FSH and LH. FSH stimulates the follicles. This follicle is going to release a hormone called estrogen. What is this? Ovary releases estrogen. Estrogen hormone, estrogen, it generates the endometrial wall. The endometrium undergo proliferation. The wall of the endometrium undergo proliferation because of this estrogen. And this corpus luteum releases progesterone. Progesterone. You know, gestation means pregnancy. Okay, progesterone, before pregnancy it is released. Progesterone, which maintains the endometrial wall. Endometrial wall proliferates and it is prepared because of the estrogen, and that prepared endometrium maintained by the progesterone. So these are the four hormones we are going to discuss here. So here I draw two lines. One hormone name is LH, which is in the orange color, and another hormone name is FSH, which is in purple color. So many students' favorite color, I think it is FSH and LH. Now here I draw one line with the blue color. This is estrogen, and another color line what I draw here, that is called what? Progesterone. So these are the information related to the hormones. Next, come to the organs where these menstrual changes occur. The menstrual changes occur in mainly two organs. That is, one is ovary. Changes in ovary. Here within the ovary the changes occur. And another organ is endometrium. So what is menstrual cycle means? Menstrual cycle means it is the cyclical changes which occur in both the ovary and in this uterus. In the ovary and the uterus, the changes occur cyclically in every month. The cyclical changes which occur in the uterine wall and the ovary is called menstrual cycle. and these changes are controlled by the hormonal actions. Ovarian changes controlled by the pituitary hormones. Ovarian changes controlled by what? Pituitary hormones. As like that, endometrial changes are under control of ovarian hormones. These are called what? These are what? Ovarian hormones. So we are going to discuss in menstrual cycle in 4 stages. Changes in the pituitary hormones, which induces the changes of this ovarian changes. Changes in the ovarian hormones that induces the changes of uterine hormones. Okay. Now, what are the differences? What are the changes occur in the uterine wall and in the ovary? Both we will discuss first. Okay. First, in ovary, follicular undergo development. Follicular growth will happen, and one developed that is called follicular phase. This is called what? Follicular phase. I will write here. This is called follicular phase. Once the follicle development completes, the developed follicle, the Graafian follicle, ruptures and releases the ovum. That is called ovulation. A day of ovulation. Okay. And later, after the ovulation, this granulosa cells which are remain within the ovary, they are converted into yellow color mass. Mass means corpus. Yellow color corpus means a mass of body, a body mass, corpus. Lutea means yellow. So a corpus luteum, which is yellow color body, is formed, and it releases progesterone. So this phase is called luteal phase. Luteal phase. Follicular phase, ovulatory phase, and luteal phase. These are the 3 phases of the ovary. And come to the endometrium. In endometrium also 3 stages are there. The first stage is menstruation, rupturing of the uterine wall and releases that blood and the ruptured tissue released out. The decidua basalis is released out through the vagina. So that flow is called menstrual flow. So this phase is called menstrual phase. Menstrual phase. And the next, after menstruation, in the follicular phase, because of the estrogen hormone, endometrium proliferates. Proliferates means the cells undergo mitotic division. They increase in their number. They increase the size of the endometrium. Okay, they increase the thickness of the endometrium. So this is called proliferative phase. Proliferative phase. It proliferates entire like this. Up to here it is going to proliferates. Okay. Once it is proliferative phase, that means the blood vessels increases in number. They supply more amount of blood to the endometrium, and that helps in this mitotic division of the endometrium. So it is called what? Proliferative phase. And this proliferative phase is continuous up to the progesterone hormone. And once the progesterone hormone is released, it becomes a secretory phase. It becomes what? Secretory phase. Because the endometrial wall is going to secrete some amount of mucus and for the implantation of the baby. Okay, it becomes glandular. The endometrium wall becomes what? Glandular. So this is called secretory phase. So these are the 3 phases of endometrium. These are the 3 phases of ovary. Together we consider as there is 4 phases according to our textbooks. That is menstrual phase. The flow of menstrual flow, it comes out through the vagina due to the absence of the fertilization. If the released ovum is not fertilized, because of lack of fertilization, this endometrial wall ruptures, and along with the blood, the menstrual flow will continues through the vagina. It comes out through the vagina. That is called menstrual phase. Followed by the menstrual phase, there is a follicular phase where the primary follicles and secondary follicles, they are going to develop. Okay, and this follicular phase is also called proliferative phase. That is what is there in our textbooks. Okay, and after this, in the middle of the menstrual cycle, there is in the 14th day, because the entire menstrual cycle is 28 to 29 days. 28 or 29 days. In the middle of the menstrual cycle, the ovum is released. So the ovulatory phase. And later, the corpus luteum releases the progesterone, and that maintains the endometrium for the pregnancy. So this is called luteal phase. In the same time, in the luteal phase time, the endometrium wall becomes a secretory. It becomes a glandular. So luteal phase is also called secretory phase. Like that, what we learn from our textbooks. Okay. Now I'm going to explain each and every point from this diagram in a clear manner. This is the starting of the menstrual cycle. Okay. Now, the first menstrual cycle begins at the age of the puberty. That means nearly 13 to 15 years age. The first menstrual cycle is called menarche. The first menstrual cycle is called what? Menarche. Right. Now, this menstrual cycle is nothing but a cyclical changes of the endometrium and cyclical changes of the ovary, which indicates reproductive health of a woman. Okay, if the menstrual cycles is continuous for every 28 to 29 days, that means the woman is reproductively healthy, and the remaining problems are also reproductively healthy. Okay, that is the next point. And if there is any changes occurs in the body, if there is any changes like any hormonal deficiencies, any hormonal problems, or any stress, or the physical health may impact this menstrual cycle, maybe it will be postponed, or it may take more than the 28 to 29 days. So like that, the changes within the menstrual cycle may represent the health problems of that woman. Okay. Now, menstruation will occur if the released ovum is not yet fertilized. If menstruation occur, if the released ovum in the last cycle is not get fertilized, because if the fertilization takes place, it get implanted. Once the implantation takes place, the endometrium proliferates and it occupies the entire baby, and it takes some 9 months time for that is called gestation period. So there is no menstruation. So menstruation will occur in the absence of the fertilization. If menstruation stops for the 1 month, that means she get pregnancy. Okay. Next, it is not confirmed because some health issues also, like stress, physical stress, or if she is going to take some drugs which may be impact this follicular hormones or the anterior pituitary hormones, taking some drugs, or physical health, mental health, stress and hormonal imbalances, anything may disturb the menstrual cycle, may postpone the menstrual cycle for 1 month to 2 months also. So absence of menstruation is not always pregnancy, but it is an indication of the pregnancy. So if we conduct one pregnancy test, if we want to conduct some pregnancy test, first of all it gives one signal. Menstruation, if it is stopped, maybe it is pregnancy. If we conduct the pregnancy test, if the pregnancy test is confirmed, she is pregnant. If she is not pregnant, if the pregnancy test gives the failure result, that means the negative result, maybe because of any health issue, this menstrual flow is stopped. Okay, now we will begin with the menstruation cycle. Menstrual phase takes nearly 3 to 5 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. 3 to 5 days the menstrual flow occurs because of lack of progesterone. If you observe, the progesterone levels are very less in this phase. The progesterone levels are very less. Due to the lack of progesterone, the endometrium is not maintained. Okay, due to the lack of progesterone, endometrium is not maintained, it ruptures and it comes out. Maybe you may ask one doubt like why in the phase of the menstrual cycle, in the phase of menstrual flow, blood is in liquid form. Out of the blood vessels, the blood should be like it forms the clot. After the blood vessel, out of the blood vessels, blood forms the clot. But here, the blood is not forms the clot. In menstrual cycle, nearly 30 to 50 ml blood comes out in this 3 to 5 days in this liquid form. Why blood is in liquid form? Because the endometrium releases fibrolytic enzymes which dissolves, which digest the fibrin threads. You know, fibrin threads forms the blood clot. That blood clot is not formed because of this fibrolytic enzyme, because it eats that fibrins. So fibrin threads becomes disappear. That means they are digested. So this menstrual flow is always in the liquid form. There is no blood clot in the endometrium. Okay, so this is the fibrolytic enzyme, and it will continue for 3 to 5 days in the absence of fertilization. This is the menstrual phase. Next, follicular phase. Once the menstrual phase is completed, the anterior pituitary is going to release FSH and LH hormones. Follicular stimulating hormone acts on one primary follicle that is going to develop into the secondary, tertiary follicle and completely matured Graafian follicle. So in this phase, the follicles are going to develop because of the follicular stimulating hormone. Not only the follicular stimulating hormone, LH hormone also. LH is also acts on this developing ova, developing follicles. These follicles, in this process, theca interna is formed. In this what? In secondary follicle time, theca interna. This theca interna is going to release a hormone called estrogen. It is going to release a hormone called what? Estrogen. So estrogen hormone is gradually increases in the follicular phase. Estrogen hormone works on the endometrium. So endometrial cells undergo mitotic divisions. They increase in their number and they increase the thickness of the endometrium. This is called proliferative phase because it becomes proliferated. The endometrium becomes thickness. It thickens. So it is called what? Proliferative phase in the uterine endometrial point of view, and it is called follicular phase in the ovary point of view. What happened? Anterior pituitary releases FSH and LH. FSH work on follicular growth. The developing follicles releases estrogen hormone. Estrogen gradually increases and that improves the endometrial health. Clear? So estrogen is always helps in the development of the endometrium. Not only this, estrogen is going to stimulate what these cells are called granular cells also. The granular cells also becomes increase in number and they become thickness. So because of the estrogen, this granular cells becomes more and more thick and they are going to touch the ovary wall, and still they are increased, they rupture the ovary wall and ovum is released. So estrogen is the reason for the development of this endometrium and the developing of the ovum also for the ovulation. Okay, so this up to here it is called what? Follicular phase. Okay, and released estrogen is stimulate pituitary gland. I am releasing, and that means still the ova is not released. Because I am only present in the body, estrogen is only present, there is no progesterone, and I am going to increase more and more. So we have to release more and more FSH and LH mainly. So the increased estrogen give positive feedback to the pituitary gland to release LH. So FSH and LH and estrogen is going to reach their peak level, and increased estrogen stimulates pituitary gland to release more amount of LH. So LH reaches its more peak level, that is called LH surge. The rapid secretion of the LH hormone is called what? LH surge. Due to the LH surge, this follicle is going to rupture and ovum is released. The releasing of ova is called ovulation. The releasing of ova is called what? Ovulation. Why ovulation takes place? Due to the rapid secretion of LH. The increased LH hormone stimulates the Graafian follicle to rupture and release the ovum. So LH surge results in the ovulation process. Clear? This is the third phase, ovulatory phase, and it is happened in the middle of the menstrual cycle. It happens in the middle of the menstrual cycle. That means out of 28 days, the 14th day the ovulation process takes place. Not only that, last year some questions are there like previous years. If the woman has 34 days of menstrual cycle instead of 28, 34 days are there, on which day the ova is released? What is the ovulatory phase date? In which day the ova is released? Generally students mistaken like 34 by 2, because in the middle of the menstrual cycle, right? So 15 plus that is 2, 17th day, like that students select, but that is mistake, that is wrong. Okay, on which day it will be released? Actually the corpus luteum or the luteal phase is always 14 days. After the luteal phase, ova is released. Luteal phase is 14 days. Compulsory, it is the standard 14 days luteal phase, definitely, because corpus luteum will maintain for 14 days in the absence of menstrual cycle, in the absence of fertilization. Okay, so 34 minus 14, on the 20th day the ova is released. The ova is released on 20th day if the woman has 34 days of menstrual cycle. So what is the formula of ovulation day? Ovulation day formula is number of menstrual days minus luteal phase. Luteal phase means 14 days. 54 days are there. For example, 54 days of menstrual cycle is there. The ovulation day is 40th day. Okay, so like that, how much number they give in the examination? Just deduct 14 from the days. How many days are there? Out of 28 days, minus 28 minus 14. Okay, it is not 28 by 2. It is 28 minus 14. 30 minus 14. 34 minus 14. After luteal phase, 14th day it will be released. After luteal phase, the 14th day. Okay, so this is called ovulatory phase. Very important question it is. Next, after ovulation, there are granulosa cells which are still remain within the ovary. They are converted into a yellow color mass, because in this cells, granulosa cells, a pigment is secreted. That pigment is called lutein. The pigment name is called what? Lutein. This lutein pigment, which is in yellow color, because of that lutea. You know, erythro means red, albino means white, lutea means yellow. Okay, so like that, lutein, yellow color body mass, corpus luteum. Corpus means body. Corpus luteum is prepared. That corpus luteum releases the progesterone hormone. That's why if you observe, up to ovulation the progesterone levels are less. Once the ovulation takes place, the formed corpus luteum is going to release the progesterone. This progesterone maintains the endometrial wall and it becomes more glandular, secretory phase. In the presence of progesterone, it becomes what? Secretory phase. Okay, this progesterone maintains the endometrium, and this phase is called secretory phase, and this phase is also called luteal phase. Okay, this LH hormone, luteal hormone maintains the corpus luteum health. Corpus luteum releases progesterone. Progesterone maintains this endometrium, all are interlinked. Luteal LH hormone stimulates what? Corpus luteum. Corpus luteum releases progesterone. Progesterone maintains endometrium. Up to when the LH is going to secreted? Up to when there is estrogen. Because of excess estrogen, LH is secreted. After ovulation, there is no ovary, so there is no ovum, right? There is no ovum means, that means what? There is no estrogen. Estrogen is going to decline. Estrogen is going to decline. Once the estrogen levels falls, corpus luteum takes charge. It thoughts like, if there is no luteinizing hormone, I am not maintained. If there is no estrogen, LH is not there. So it is very important to produce estrogen also. So corpus luteum releases progesterone and estrogen. So estrogen again increases gradually. That means it is also maintained. Estrogen and progesterone both are secreted by the corpus luteum. Because of estrogen, LH is there. Okay. So like that, very little amount of estrogen. Very little amount of estrogen decreases the LH. You know how the ovulation takes place? Increased estrogen stimulates pituitary gland to release more and more LH hormone. But now the estrogen hormone levels are very less. So it is not going to stimulate the pituitary gland. So the LH hormone is also going to decline gradually. If LH hormone declines gradually, corpus luteum health is not maintained. If corpus luteum health is not maintained, it is going to degenerate. Gradually it becomes what? Degenerate. It takes 14 days time to degenerate. Okay. After 14 days, this is going to degenerate. Once the degeneration of corpus luteum takes place, what happened? Progesterone levels falls down. The progesterone levels are falls down. If progesterone levels are falls down, it cannot maintain the endometrium. Endometrium is not maintained. So in the absence of progesterone, the endometrium is not maintained, and the next menstrual flow occurs after 28 days. So one by one we will discuss day by day. On Jan 1st, for example, Jan 1st the menstrual flow begins. Jan 1st, 2nd, 3rd or 4th and 5th also. In these 5 days only the ruptured endometrium and the blood vessels and the tissues, they come out through the vagina. This is called menstrual flow. Okay. After the 6th to 13th day, okay, 6th to 13th day, this is called follicular phase. So it takes nearly how many days? Another 1 week. Okay, from 6th to 13th means nearly it takes another 8 to 9 days to reach the ovulatory phase. In this time, what the uterine wall thinks? Okay, menstrual phase occurs. I think another follicle is going to develop. Like that, the endometrium thinks, and endometrium becomes a proliferation. It becomes proliferated to receive that fertilized egg, to implant that. Okay, so this is proliferative phase. On the 14th day, because of increased estrogen, LH also reaches peak level. Due to the LH surge, ovum is released. This is called ovulation. After ovulation, what happens? It turned into the corpus luteum that maintains what? Endometrium. So what it says to the endometrium? The increased LH releases the ovum, and corpus luteum releases the progesterone. Progesterone says to the endometrium like, be happy, the another ovum is also released, and at any time the ovum is going to fertilize and it is going to enter into your place, and you have to ready to implant the baby, to develop the baby, so to become glandular. Okay, like that progesterone give information to this endometrium. So it is wait for that, because within 14 days, definitely within 14 days it will definitely fertilized and it will come and implanted. That is what it assumes. So the endometrium is going to assume like that, and it is waits for the zygote. But in the absence of fertilization, corpus luteum converted into corpus albicans. Corpus all weakens, which is a white color tissue, and that is not going to secrete the progesterone. So in the absence of progesterone, menstrual flow is continuous. Again, it is disappointed because there is no baby, there is no fertilization. Fertilization is not takes place, so endometrium disappoints and it commits for suicide, like rupturing the endometrial wall, and it is going to send out. So this is what happens in the menstrual cycle, and this menstrual changes continues up to the 50 years of age. At the age of 50 years or 50 to 55 years age, the menstrual cycle is ceases. The cessation of regular menstrual cycle around the age of 50 years, that is called menopause. From the menarche up to the menopause, this menstrual cycle is continuous, and it will give gap for 9 to if it is fertilization takes place 9 months for the gestation, after delivery 6 months for the lactation, 9 plus 6, nearly 15 months gap for one pregnancy. For one baby, it gives nearly 13 to 15 months gap for the menstrual cycle. Or else, if there is no fertilization takes place, it will be happen continuously from 13 years of age to the 50 to 55 years of age in a reproductively healthy woman. Okay, these are the menstrual changes. The remaining changes and the remaining things we will discuss in the next class. Thank you.